and welcome to Women's Wealth. I'm your host, Chella Diaz, and today I am so delighted we have Jessica with us. And Jessica is going to teach us about the benefits of olive oils. I am so delighted. I met Jessica not too long ago, but I voted myself her number one fan. And she has a location in Torrance, and she recently opened one in Culver City. And what I love about this, you're thinking, well, what does olive oil and money have to do? Well, if olive oil can keep you healthy, if you're healthy, you're going to go out and make more money. Everything is all about this is Women's Wealth, where we talk about all things money. So, welcome to the
Well,
show.
thank you for having me. I appreciate being here and having this opportunity. Like Chella said, I own Bluff Cove Olive Oil Company. I started the business back May 2014, recently opened up a second location. We're really into teaching the public and those who love to cook and be healthy the benefits of olive oil and what to look for in olive oil and your normal cooking oils. We are going to go into a little bit about what olive oil is, the categories of olive oil, what to look for on labels for olive oil, shelf life stability, some of the misconceptions that come along with olive oil.
So you definitely want to take out a note, or for you new age folks, your recorder, you may want to record some of this information, because the first time I took this class, I had 3 pages of notes, because the biggest misconceptions that are out there for me would be, if you pay a lot of money for an olive oil, that equals a good olive oil. And Jessica is going to educate us today, because that's not the case. Paying a lot of money for a good olive oil, it does not equal that olive oil being good for you.
That's right. So basically, when it comes to olive oil, there's a lot of people out there. There's books, there's websites, there's health educators telling us what to look for, and they're telling us what we should eat and what we shouldn't eat. And we're being taught how to read labels. We know that fresh is good, processed is bad, but we wonder why such a focus on food. It affects our health, it affects our work life, it affects our mood, our weight, and our future health. So we really feel what we eat, and it can make us more productive, unproductive, all of it. So we want to know what foods are going to positively affect our lives, possibly decrease cancer, heart disease, stroke, and more. But one thing that we have to really be careful is when there's a little regulation on key ingredients in our kitchens. One thing that we always look for is labels. And depending on what a label says, are you going to buy it if it says heart healthy? Are you going to buy it if it says cholesterol free, pure, light, maybe vegetable plus, all natural? Those are typical things that we hear on a regular basis. But there's little on this list, but the list can go on and on. So welcome to your cooking oils. The US really has no regulations on oils. Most store-bought oils are going to be processed or refined. They're going to be rancid. Their shelf life, there is a shelf life on olive oil. So you have to be careful, because part of the insane amount of processing oils includes chemical solvents, steamers, bleachers, neutralizers, deodorizers, and these are what is in your cabinet from your store-bought cooking oils. So no nutritional label is going to tell you this. Many of the cooking oils out there are many out there, but what I'm going to touch basis on today is olive oil. Olive oil tends to be one of the most expensive cooking oils, like Cello was saying. I know when we all go into a grocery store, we're all looking at the different oils, and we'll get all excited when we see an extra virgin olive oil is on sale, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a good extra virgin olive oil. So we can just assume that olive oil is healthy. But just like other oils, it also can fall into this processed category, which we really have to watch out for.
So you can't really trust what you see. So that was the thing. That was my biggest lesson, is that you think and you want to buy something healthy,
Right.
but extra virgin. So the label does not equal healthy, which is what you thought you were getting.
It's true. So there's basically three types of olive oil. You've got your extra virgin olive oil, your virgin olive oil. Both those olive oils fall into its first press, cold pressed, and we'll get into that. And then you've got your Lampante olive oil, which is not good for human consumption. A lot of the labeling in the stores, and I know it's sold by the gallons at certain stores that we all like to shop at, but you see a lot of pure olive oil, you see a lot of extra light virgin olive oil. These are expensive olive oils when it comes to compared to like your canola oil, vegetable oil. And so we think if we buy this pure olive oil or this extra light olive oil that we're getting good olive oil, but actually those are the Lampante categories and those are olive oils that we should not be consuming. Pure olive oil in the olive oil world, the word pure means processed. So I highly recommend staying away from these expensive processed oils. And you're probably wondering, well, how do I look for a good, decent oil? One thing is the chemistry, and a lot of people will say, well, chemistry is not important, but chemistry is very important. It's what dictates whether your oil is extra virgin olive oil, whether it's virgin olive oil, or whether it falls into the pure processed extra light virgin olive oil. So the International Olive Oil Council has set some standards. And that's what dictates extra virgin olive oil. California's got some standards, but it only applies to high producers in the California region, and they're good standards. And then the US has no standards because we don't subscribe to the International Olive Oil Council. The only standard that the US has is that they have to mention the country of region that olive oil came from. I know many of you probably watched the 60 Minutes clip recently that had Tom Mueller talking about the agro mafia that kind of regulates the olive oil business. Well, it's true. And he goes into saying about 80% of it is not true olive oil. So it might say made in Italy, and that bottle might be a little bit more expensive in the grocery store. But if you flip that bottle around, you're going to see all the other countries where those olives came from. And typically those olives were not grown in Italy. It's just a high dollar market out there.
So that could mean that the olives were grown somewhere else and then the bottling only happened in Italy?
Yeah. So what they're doing is they're mass producing those olives in other regions and then they're shipping them to Italy, and then Italy is exporting the olive oil. Like a lot of people think Italy is the biggest producer of olive oil. It's actually Spain that's the biggest producer. Italy is the biggest exporter. Yes, there are still good olive oils that come from Italy. We even have some in the shop, but you have to really be careful about your store-bought olive oil. You really need to research it, taste it, look for harvest dates if you can. It's something that really has no regulation in the US right now.
Awesome. So let's take one step back here. You are listening to Women's Wealth. I'm your host, Chella Diaz, and today we are talking to Jessica from Bluff Oils. How did you get started on this journey, Jessica?
Well, I absolutely love to cook, and my parents gave me some really good olive oil and balsamic when it had to be about 6 years ago, and I fell in love with it. And I tried other products. I actually had a taste for that good extra virgin olive oil, which I had really not had before. And it's all I cooked with. It's the only way I'll eat my Brussels sprouts if they're basically caramelized in the olive oil and balsamic. And there's a difference too when it comes to the actual flavor of good fresh olive oil compared to store-bought olive oil. It has a really nice green, fruity, maybe a little bit of a nutty taste to it. A little bit grassy comes through, but I love that. So I ended up giving it to clients. I was in the insurance business and I started giving oils and vinegars to new clients, and they all loved it. And then when we moved here to the Los Angeles area, there was really no olive oil or balsamic store close to me. And I begged my husband to let me start one, and he said, go for it. And I ended up having major knee surgery, and during my recovery, I wrote a very large business plan, and within 6 months, I was up and running.
Oh my heavens! Talk about following your passion. You know, this is fabulous because a lot of people don't know that sometimes that's all it takes. You know, finding something that you truly love, and you just everything falls into place.
Yeah, just running with it, and probably running a little too much, but it actually has been a very big blessing on us. It's a wonderful business. I love having a business. I love the interactions with the people that come in, and just talking about food all day puts a smile on my face.
And education, you know, when I first attended your workshop, to me, I walked away with tons of information. So I felt empowered to go out and choose the right olive oil.
Right.
which at this point I've only been able to find them at your store. And I got to tell you, that's if you know me and you've already received a bottle. My cousin had an anniversary. That's what I gave them, because I want to. But one of the ones that I got hooked on is the benefits, the health benefits of some of your olive oils.
Yes, there are a lot of health benefits to good extra virgin olive oil. And I mean, not only does it taste good, but when you have good health benefits, and we all know that olive oil is supposed to be really good for us. We look at the Mediterranean diet and the history of it and people eating in the Mediterranean way, and they tend to have long lives. They tend to have great skin. They tend to be cancer free, really no heart disease. And a lot of it is the benefit of the extra virgin olive oil that they are taking on a regular basis. There's proven studies that say that extra virgin olive oil, if it's the true good extra virgin olive oil, it's going to lower your risk of cancer, especially breast cancer, prostate cancer. It's going to help with inflammation, which we know is one of the major causes to a lot of our health issues. It's going to help lower your cholesterol, blood pressure. It's me on a personal note. I started taking 2 to 4 tablespoons on a daily basis just because I own a olive oil store. So I thought, why not? I've dealt with severe dry lip and eczema around it for 3 years. I went to dermatologists, tried many different prescription medicines, and within a week of taking extra virgin olive oil internally, it was gone. And I noticed too, when I get busy during the holiday season, I will forget to take it and I can feel it coming back, and I'll start taking the 2 to 4 tablespoons on a regular basis and it's gone. And one thing I recommend, if you do want to try natural healing or health other alternatives, maybe talk to your doctor and see if you could maybe take olive oil on a daily basis for maybe some heart issues, and see what your cardiologist thinks. But I highly recommend it in a regular diet to help with many health benefits.
I know that you have patients that just come in, or clients that just come in, right?
We do. We get a lot of referrals, for whether it's from cardiologists or natural healers or other people, and just to take the 2 to 4 tablespoons a day just to help with blood pressure, cholesterol. We've had multiple people saying that they just took butter out of their diet and switched it to olive oil, which, just so you know, if you do that, it's not an equal conversion. We do have conversion charts online. And they come in saying all they did was change from butter to extra virgin olive oil, good fresh extra virgin olive oil, and their blood pressure went down and their cholesterol is now perfect. So we do get quite a few people on a regular basis telling us how much better it's helped them in just their normal health.
Yeah, it's just the olive oil. And one of the things that I loved about her store is that they give you recipes. So let's say that you don't know, you're not into cooking, but you want to be healthy. One of the ways that you can do that is stop by the store. And what is your website? What is your website?
The website is bluffcoveoliveoil.com.
And they have a list of different recipes that you can use.
Yes.
You have, so, I mean, so even if you just, one of the other things that she did was you can go to the store. I love hummus. I know the show it's about wealthy and money's wealth. I love hummus, but they have a way for you to take the regular hummus and add some olive oil, and it takes a whole new taste, whole new flavor.
Yeah, you add a little bit of harissa olive oil to your hummus, and it just puts a little spice and zing in it and makes it fabulous. But yeah, like Chella was saying, you can come in. It's mixing good olive oils and balsamics together really can make meal prep quick if you're running home from work, because I know a lot of us are extremely busy on a regular basis between work, maybe children, whatever it might be. But there's so many easy ways to make your food taste good and healthy just by adding a little bit of olive oil and flavored balsamic.
So if you're not a cook, you don't need to be. You can just buy prepared items and simply add good quality olive oils and the balsamic vinegars. And let me tell you, you will get hooked.
Yes.
Because they just taste so amazing together.
They do. And I mean, even easy marinades, like chicken is probably the main dish that we cook in our household. And my husband gets very sick of different or the same flavor. And so you can just switch the flavors every night, whether you're putting it on a skillet, a grill, or roasting it. So there are many easy ways to make your food good.
And I know there's a lot of marinades out there, but I got to tell you, if I can encourage you to start looking at the labels and see how much sugar are in some of those marinades. And I'm not going to name any names, but using a good olive oil, because this is about how can we make it better, easier, and healthier. So what this particular olive oils, you don't have any of that. You don't have the extra sugar. I do have my favorite vinegars, but we won't talk about them here. No, but there's just so much flavor to them.
There is, and it's all natural. There's nothing artificial. A lot of our food has hidden artificial flavoring in it, hidden trans fats from being refined, and these are things that we're all trying to get away from because we're being educated on it so much. And I have to tell you, just the way you eat will affect how you are able to do your job and how you're able to work and get out there and make money, and just being able to have a good, easy dinner and healthy just is a nice thing for an evening.
Yeah. So we're not only are you saving money, but you're also saving time.
Exactly.
Because the marinades, and they're so quick. And her website, like I mentioned, that you are able to get some recipes. So you don't even have to think about what combinations will be good. Initially, you can just prepare. You can go and just follow the directions. They already have some amazing combinations that have been tested. So you can take that, and could be your starting point. So you never know. If you cook meals at home, one, you'll be saving money.
That's true.
But two, it's healthier.
Yes,
right?
It is. It's way healthier. I mean, you don't know. We know what restaurants are going to have good quality food and products that they use, but there's a lot of restaurants that don't use good quality products. So if you like to cook at home or want to save some money, I mean, is a good alternative.
And what is, again, we're all talking about the health benefits and how, again, this is where we talk about all things money, how having good health can affect your bank account, right? Because if you're sick, you won't be able to work, you won't be able to earn money. What are some of the things? Now, I've been to both of your stores, and I've seen a lot of people interacted, and there's certain people that just come in because they like certain olive oils.
There is. There's one thing, too, where we have different flavors, and we have different extra virgin olive oils. A lot of our extra virgin olive oils are going to have different flavors to them, and it's based off the chemistry. I'd mentioned how chemistry is important, but polyphenols, which are your antioxidants, actually will affect the flavor of your olive oil. So it'll actually make it more pungent and more peppery, sometimes a little bit more bitter. And just like wine has multiple tastes, so does olive oil. So when people come in, we can actually teach you how to taste the olive oils and how to warm it up and how to slurp it and gargle it down just to find a flavor you like. With the health benefits, many people will come in and look for our highest polyphenol olive oil, and they'll just come in and say, I want the highest polyphenol olive oil. A lot of people that try it, it's going to be so peppery in the back of the throat, even though there's not any added pepper. It just has that peppery taste, and people have to warm up to it, and they have to maybe go with a more mild olive oil before they actually are able to handle the higher polyphenol olive oil.
If you just tuned in, this is Women's Wealth. I'm your host, Chella Diaz, and today we are talking to Jessica, and she's giving us lots of tips about the good, the bad, and the ugly of olive oils. So, and Jessica, now I got to tell you, that's my favorite because of the benefits, and I'm working my way up to the highest. I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet, but I have seen people where they just come in and that's all they want to do. They just want to go straight for the health benefits.
It is, and that's what I mean, when I take my 2 to 4 tablespoons on a regular basis, I'm going to make sure if I'm sitting there drinking 2 to 4 tablespoons a day, it's going to be the highest health benefits that I can possibly get. And so it does burn if I'm just drinking it on its own. And I know it's not easy just drinking a fat, but it does have its good benefits. And plus you're getting your omega-3s and your omega-9s, which is also an added plus.
Yeah, that's, I'm working my way up to that, and I'll definitely look forward to getting to that point. But, again, this is about, educating and learning what's out there, what's out there. So you want to give our listeners what is your website?
The website is bluffcoveoliveoil.com.
Fabulous. And she does have a menu. You can go check her out. There's 2 locations, one in Torrance and one in Culver City. and they do mail out. So I will definitely explore that possibility, that option, if you're not near those two cities. It's quite the experience, though, to go into the store. And I know you're going to make fun of me here, but I'm okay with that. But I recently told one of my sons to go in as a date night. I think it's a great place to go because you're getting healthy. He didn't like the idea, but it's okay. But but it's a great place to go. Forget date night. What if you just get a couple of your friends, male, females, and you go and you do the in my opinion, wine tasting, olive oil tasting is the new in. Let me tell you.
Yes, they go hand in hand and they grow next to each other. So no, it is. They both, yeah, wine tasting and olive oil is good.
What can you tell our listeners about things that they need to look for? You know, let's say they, for whatever reason, they can't get to your store. What can they look for, to see if the oils that they're currently using or they're thinking of using meet
The standard.
the standards?
Well, there's one website you can look at is Truth in Olive Oil, and it will tell you what olive oils are good, whether for which store, whether you're going to maybe a Trader Joe's or a Whole Foods or even a Sprouts. They'll list whether your olive oil is going to be good or if it's going to be on the bad category. Another thing too that you can look at is UC Davis has a whole amazing olive oil department, and they go out every year and they test different olive oils from 3 different regions. That's Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Sacramento. And they test whether it's extra virgin olive oil or not. And a lot of times it comes out not, but you'll be able every year to see where that standard comes in. So if you're wondering if your oil's good, you can go that route. Now, if you want to do it by taste, a lot of olive oil that is rancid will be heavy and greasy tasting in your mouth. It's not going to have that light, grassy, peppery taste, which olive oil should have. So you'd really want to see if it's heavy and greasy. You can almost smell it. But I have to say, Americans are really used to rancid olive oil. A lot of Americans will actually prefer rancid olive oil over good, true, extra virgin olive oil. So if it does taste grassy, if it does taste a little bit of bitterness and peppery, it's probably good. So just be aware of that. Another thing, too, is a harvest date. Best by dates don't really tell us anything. A best by date with olive oil, I mean, we don't know because basically olive oil has a shelf life 2 years from its crush date. So a harvest date or a crush date is very important. And if it says harvest like 2012, I mean, it's probably going to be rancid, which we've seen recently in multiple stores. But just look for a harvest date or a crush date. And if it's 2 years prior to that, then your olive oil is still probably good.
Is that normal to find that date?
No, it's not because it's not regulated.
Okay, got it.
So it's very rare to actually find a harvest date or a crush date on a bottle. Just to let you know, a lot of the Northern Hemisphere, just to give you guys some times on when it's ready, will crush in November, December. Southern Hemisphere, which I know sounds weird, they have amazing olive oil, just like they're coming out with amazing wine, and their crush dates are going to be in the springtime. So if you look at a bottle and it says Peru, you can probably, and it has a best by date, maybe you can come up with a number based off those two little information, but it's going to be hard.
Yeah, because I went out and I wanted to look at the bottles and it was like, I can't find them. I just, not that I went to a few, and then I stopped.
It's hard.
Yeah. It was just not.
And another thing too, if you've got some like small California farms around here producing good olive oil, so even if you get some olive oil from there, it's probably going to be pretty good olive oil. It's some of the big store-bought mass-produced olive oil you really need to be cautious about. And even California has kind of come down, like I mentioned, they've come out with their own standards when it comes to chemistry that tells whether it's going to be extra virgin or not. Like the international standard is 0.8 acidity for it to be extra virgin, and the California standard for mass producers is 0.5. So they've actually got a really good standard. And then all of our oil, just so you know, it's ultra premium and it's going to be 0.3. And all those standards will also help with heat index. So you can actually cook at high heats with good fresh extra virgin olive oil, which is going to go against the grain of what they say with grocery store olive oil. So good Fresh olive oil will go up to about 425 before it decomposes. Your store-bought olive oil will do about 325.
So that is the biggest myth that we have out there,
It
because
is.
I have heard that olive oil is not really good to cook with.
Yeah, and you have to have good premium olive oil to cook at high heats with. For example, if it's high in monounsaturated fat, low in acidity, it's probably going to decompose slower than most other oils. Your grocery store oil is probably going to be a little bit higher in acidity, and monounsaturated fat will probably still be somewhat decent, but it'll decompose because of the acidity. And the acidity is just the quality of the olive at the time of harvest, if anybody's wondering.
Yeah. If you're just tuning in, you're listening to Women's Wealth. I'm your host, Chella Diaz, and we are speaking with Jessica from Bluff Oil. She has 2 locations, one in Torrance and one in Culver City, but she does have a website, and she does deliver or mail out some of her products. I highly recommend it, because not only for the health benefits, but also it really tastes great. They're really good stuff. What are some of the myths out there about olive oil, as far as, what it really means to be pure olive oil?
Okay, so first off, like I said, pure olive oil actually in the olive oil world means processed. And so we take away the word pure and we take away the word extra light. And those just mean processed. So if you see the word pure, that's one of the myths and misconceptions. Stay away from pure in the olive oil world. Another issue is the matter of where olive oil comes from. It really does not matter. It's the chemistry that is going to produce good olive oil. And like I was saying, we get good olive oil from the northern hemisphere, and we also get amazing olive oil from the southern hemisphere. Australia has amazing olive oil. They just won multiple awards last year in the International Olive Oil Festival. So don't be surprised if you see a southern hemisphere olive oil. So another thing too, Italy is not your biggest importer of olive oil. They're your biggest exporter. Spain is the biggest importer, or biggest producer, excuse me. And another thing that we all have to be aware of is color. A lot of people will look at their olive oil and they'll judge it or buy it based off the color of the bottle. Well, a lot of times if it's processed, color is going to be added back in, but color doesn't matter. Different regions will produce different color olive oils. Like Spain might produce more of a gold olive oil, and Italy might produce more of a green colored olive oil. It's going to have to do with its climate and the terrain. So do not be shocked by the color of the olive oil, or even if it's cloudy. We sell unfiltered olive oil, and so sometimes our olive oil is a little bit cloudy, and that means nothing. So don't be shocked or buy olive oil just based off color.
So this will be one where you can't judge a book by its cover.
Yes.
Right? I know. I'm just all corny today. I'm sorry. But no, it's true. And that was a big surprise when I did, right?
Yeah.
Because, I'm guilty. I used to think that the, clear was going to be better.
Right, because they call it liquid gold is another name for olive oil.
Yes. I'm glad she said it.
Be confused. Yeah. Basically 93% of Americans, they did a study on it, believe that olive oil should be more of a gold color, but it's green, it's gold. It just is going to depend on the region and the harvest of that year. So do not be shocked on that. So that's one thing. One thing too that is kind of interesting is the trees that grow in California. Like we have an Arbequina tree that grows here, Kalamata. So a lot of popular olive oils that we'll see within the California region are Arbequina, Arbesana, Kalamata, which Kalamata obviously is a Greek olive. So different trees will grow in different regions based on that climate. Just like in Australia, there's a huge European influence. That's why good olive oil, we believe, is coming out of there too, is because of the European influence. But another thing that I just touched on was shelf life and stability. Just be aware that just olive oil, just like anything else, is going to have a shelf life. It's not like wine where it's going to age or balsamic where it's going to age, but it does have a shelf life. It's 2 years from its crush date, and it definitely goes rancid. So if you've had that bottle that you bought on a trip somewhere, maybe when you're in Europe, and it's still sitting there, you might want to just leave it as a decoration instead of opening it if it's been sitting there for over 10 years, because it probably is rancid.
Heavens. So, but would that mean that you're able to get better olive oils outside of the United States?
Well, yeah, you can. We get wonderful California olive oils.
Okay.
It's going to depend on the weather that year.
Okay.
Obviously, like any harvest, it's going to depend on your water. It's going to depend on the soil, the climate conditions. That's all going to affect your harvest for the year. I think it was a year and a half ago the European crops were so bad we couldn't get a particular walnut oil in that's fabulous, and we couldn't get any of the Italian olive oils in until towards the end of the season. So it just really is going to depend on that harvest this year. And a lot of people wonder too, a question that constantly comes up in the shop is the polyphenols. How does a tree produce different polyphenols? Well, we get different oil and vinegar from, or I should say different oil from the same farms every year, but the batch is going to be different based off the current conditions. So one year we might have a high polyphenol, or in the next year it might just be medium. And another thing that affects the high polyphenols and the quality is the age of the olive trees. So I have read that the age of the olive trees will actually produce a smaller crop, but it'll actually produce a better I guess the chemistry might be a little bit better in older tree, so higher polyphenols.
Right. So again, once again, we are talking with Jessica, and she's giving us tips about the do's and don'ts of olive oils and balsamic vinegars. But we haven't even touched the different flavors. So share with our listeners, what are some of your most common, or maybe some of your favorite combinations that you have on the store?
Oh, I'm going to just keep going on this one. Well, we have a garlic olive oil, which I love. I love garlic so much that I'll even use the garlic olive oil and probably add more garlic into my mix. But garlic is really good. It's very versatile because it'll actually pair with quite a few different balsamics. I personally love it right now, especially since it's summer, with a Sicilian lemon balsamic. So if you mix the garlic olive oil with the Sicilian lemon balsamic, it makes a great marinade. I love shrimp, but we have a dairy allergy in the family, so I can't use butter. And so I actually will saute shrimp in this combination, and it tastes just like shrimp scampi. It's also really good over salads. It's a very good summer flavor. Another favorite flavor, probably one of my favorites, and it's how I got into this product, was wild mushroom and sage olive oil with a black mission fig balsamic. This is how I caramelize my Brussels sprouts. A lot of us will go to restaurants and get that really crispy, yummy caramelized Brussels sprout, and we're like, how did they do it? And it's basically, if you just chop those Brussels sprouts up and you put them on a roasting pan, put them in the oven, and you use that combination of wild mushroom and sage and fig balsamic over them and cook them for about 40 minutes, you'll have your caramelized crispy Brussels sprouts, and they're so good. And we have some other flavors too that might hit people a little different, like espresso. Espresso sounds funky, but it really makes a great tri-tip marinade. And I think it's probably one of the best marinades that we have in the store alone. But yeah, Tuscan herb, we have strawberry balsamic, we have a new herby balsamic, so it doesn't really have like the sweetness of balsamic, but it's really good if you want to complement like artichokes or pork. We've got probably over 50 plus flavors in the store right now. One of our most popular flavors is honey ginger balsamic with a Persian lime olive oil, which mixes very well with an arugula salad.
And, we really didn't talk much about the balsamic vinegars, but there's also some health benefits and also misconceptions about the aging of balsamic vinegars out there.
Yes, but good true balsamic should not have any added sugar. It should just be all the natural occurring sugars. So most balsamic will usually fall under 3 grams of sugar per tablespoon. The aging process is interesting. All our balsamic is from Italy. It is all certified. It's made with the Trebbiano grapes that grow on the hillside there. And what they do is they take the grape must and red wine vinegar and they put it into old aged wood barrels and they let it sit there, let's say for 6 years. And then they'll come back and they'll add more grape must. And then that'll sit there, some will evaporate, and 12 years they'll do the same thing. And then let's say 18 years they have 18-year traditional balsamic. Now, we have white balsamics and we have dark balsamics. Dark balsamics are caramelized in a copper tank. The white balsamics are not. So that's one thing too, why you're wondering what makes it between the dark and the white, is the caramelization of it.
Got it.
So it's, yeah. And then one thing too, a good balsamic from Italy that actually is sealed and runs anywhere from probably $100 to $500. It's not going to fall under age. It's going to fall under red, silver, and a gold label. So red label typically means that it has been aged for about 12 years. Silver label, I believe, is 20 years. And then a gold label is 25 years or plus. It is actually illegal for them to put an age of how long that balsamic's aged on the bottle. So it's all based off the color codes of the balsamic and what it's been sealed. And we have it all in the store if anybody's ever interested in seeing it or buying it. But it's pretty interesting.
So when I see on the stores and they say it's been aged for, the 8 years and whatever, that
it probably roughly has been.
Okay.
But one thing you can tell with true balsamic in the US, it's if it has added sugar in it or added caramel coloring or artificial coloring, it's not going to be your true balsamic. Usually it's white wine vinegar, but they have to, according to US standards, they have to put if there's anything artificial in there on the label.
Got it.
So balsamic's a little easier to tell.
Now, I know when I went to your olive oil tasting, there was an interesting way that you guys were serving dessert.
So there's quite a few different ways you can do dessert. And just like olive oil and balsamic is just not a salad dressing, it's also really good as a finishing on different products. So one of the desserts we do is mixed berries, and we actually mix a blood orange olive oil with a dark chocolate balsamic, and we mix it all up, and it's a really good salad or dessert. And another thing is ice cream. A lot of people love ice cream, but I mean, you can make it better by adding balsamic to it. We love the blueberry balsamic on ice cream. We love blackberry ginger on ice cream. I mean, there's many different kinds. If you have like maybe a peach sorbet, you can add like a pineapple balsamic over the top. And I know it sounds funny, but you ought to try it. It's very good.
Now, I have to say, I was not hungry before we started this show today, Jessica, but I'm getting hungry.
I told you it's fun talking about food all day.
You are listening to Women's Wealth. I'm your host, Chella Diaz, and today we are talking to Jessica, and she's sharing with us the benefits of olive oils. And why do we have an olive oil expert on a Women's Wealth show? Because if you don't have your health, you won't be able to go out and make money. Well, maybe you're saying, well, it's not all about money. Okay, then you won't be able to go out and do the things you love, and you won't be able to go out and share your life with your loved ones. See, I can't say the LLL word too many times. Yes. I am so honored that you're with us. And what now we talked about a couple of different things, that benefits and all, but so if somebody, this is totally brand new to them. They've never heard, they're totally confused, and they want to go out and do the best thing that they can do. What would you recommend for them to do?
Just to get their health better?
To get their health better. Where should they start?
One thing we usually say is when people come in, we like to ask what they like to cook. For example, we do get a lot of referrals from Weight Watchers, and which is great because a lot of the people that come in, and I've been there before too, it's extremely intimidating to walk into this shop because of the amount of flavors that we have. And it's a whole niche shop based on oil and vinegar. But it's basically, what do you like to cook? What are your common flavors that you typically use in your kitchen? And we can help you and basically hold your hand and help you figure those out and just give you different suggestions. I've got a brochure that we give to every new customer that walks in that has easy ways to cook with oil and vinegar. I have probably my 5 most common recipes that I personally make at home all the time. And then it's also different things that you can do. A lot of people will be trying to get off soda when they walk into the shop. And so we'll give them Pellegrino. We have Pellegrino for you to try. And you've put a shot of balsamic in it, and it tastes like an Italian soda. And the great thing is it's also an appetite suppressant. So what's better than that? But it also helps with inflammation too. So just to help you get off of a soda addiction is always really good. But basically, if you like to cook chicken, we're going to ask you what flavors you like to cook with your chicken. And we'll go from there and just help you pick out a couple flavors and give you multiple ideas of how you can use it.
Now, I have seen when I was in your shops, I have seen people walking in for the first time,
Hmm.
and you can tell this, it's incredibly intimidating because there's so many new things. I say,
Hmm.
don't let that stop you. Set a goal for yourself. Do you want to test 3? Do you want to test 5? And be okay
Right.
with that. Do not get overwhelmed. Do not let all of the other bottles stand in the way. Choose what you want to get,
Hmm.
and just test. Some of
Yes.
them are going to be, and that's what I love about going in is that you don't have to buy the bottle. You get an opportunity to test. And then if you like it, you can take it home.
That's right. And I mean, and you could even buy like we have sampler packs if you can't decide. So it's one thing you don't have to buy a large bottle or a medium bottle. You can go pick just small bottles and we can customize these little samplers for you so you can play with them at home. And we want people to like it. We want them to get used to using good, fresh, extra virgin olive oil for their health.
That's right. I forgot about the
Hmm.
packs. Yeah,
Yeah.
I went straight for the big bottle. I got it. I knew what I wanted, and But no, that's a great idea because if you have somebody and you're just starting to cook, and that might be a good opportunity for you to test different flavors and how they go together. And then,
Hmm.
I love those Brussels sprouts, though. I gotta
And they
say,
are good.
the
If
Brussels
you don't
sprouts.
like Brussels sprouts, you have to try the recipe.
Oh my God! And then the hummus, and yeah, that was pretty good. And
Yeah.
desserts. I think we did something with biscotti.
Hmm.
And you did it with
Yeah. So one thing you could do with like biscottis or cookies, I am really not good at making dessert. I try not to make desserts because I'm afraid I'll sit there and eat it. But if I'm having people over or if I'm doing an event and I need to bring a dessert, I'll go buy cookies from the bakery or Whole Foods and I'll get biscottis too. And I drizzle raspberry balsamic over the top of them. And it tastes so good. It just adds like this nice sweetness to it.
It
So,
was. That was I
yeah.
was hooked on that, I have to say.
Yeah, yeah, but you can bake with it. So one thing too, if you are a baker and you want to cook with extra virgin olive oil, but you don't want that grassy taste, blood orange olive oil is a fabulous substitute. And you can convert it and cook with the blood orange. You might have a little bit of that citrus taste, but you're really not going to have any grassy taste that comes through. If you want to lower your sugar on one of your recipes, switch it out for a little bit of balsamic, and you'll be surprised at how good it tastes
Oh, I
with
didn't
less
even
sugar.
think about that.
Mm-hmm.
That is fabulous. I did recently make some chocolate chip cookies. Okay, my delicious vegan, gluten-free, no white sugar cookies, and I substituted some balsamic vinegar with
Yes,
it.
it's good, huh?
I thought I was being original. I guess not.
Yeah, it's good too. Like if you do care about the certifications, we are certified gluten-free, vegan, uh, no GMO, organic. So we
Okay.
do have kosher. We do have all those certifications. But
Marvelous. So now you are again listening to Women's Wealth. I'm your host, Chella Diaz, and we are talking to Jessica, and she's sharing the benefits of olive oils, but also ways for you to integrate the olive oils into a healthy diet,
Mhm.
so that you can stay healthier longer.
Yes.
And I thought it was truly, truly an amazing experience when I learned about this for the first time. And I knew right away that I wanted for her to come out and share this information with our listeners because, we want to do the right thing for our health.
Hmm.
But even if you go to, the Whole Foods and some of those other stores, just because they're there, that does not mean that is the best quality olive oil you're going to get, unfortunately. So
Yes.
you really want to start looking at the labels. You really want to start looking at what's in there. And I thought it was an interesting process. Maybe you can share with our listeners how the actual process of making olive oil goes.
So basically, with olive oil, what they do, just like you get orange juice from an orange, you get olive juice, which is the olive oil from an olive. So what they do is the olives are actually green at the time of harvest. That's when they're the most nutrient. And they go and pick the olives and they have to crush these olives within 2 to 3 hours. If they're not crushed within 2 to 3 hours, the actual quality of the olive is going to go downhill and it's probably going to be a lower grade olive oil. So it gets more rancid and the more acidic as it sits there. So you need to harvest within 2 to 3 hours. What they do is they put it into a press or a centrifuge. For extra virgin olive oil, no heat can be added. If heat is added over 86 degrees, then it's going to fall within the virgin category for olive oil, meaning it's just going to be a less quality olive oil. And the chemistry too will dictate that. But they only press it once, first press, cold press. If it's extra virgin olive oil or virgin olive oil, which is something a lot of people ask, is it first press, cold press? If it's within those two categories, it has to be first press, cold pressed. And so what they do is they get the olive oil out and, all right.
So no, this is really interesting because they have to get the olives and then they have to press them within 3 hours.
They have to press them within 2 to 3 hours to get your good olive oil. And like I said, it's just the first press, cold press, and then you've got your oil. If they're going to press it more than that, it's going to be within the Lampante category, which is not good for human consumption, which will fall into your pure and extra light virgin olive oil and will typically be refined.
But we won't know that. I mean,
you will when it comes to the pure and the extra light virgin olive oil, because it actually is on store shelves and it does say pure olive oil and it does say extra light virgin olive oil. And it's really the International Olive Oil Council is saying, do not consume these olive oils. These are more for heating, lighting a lamp. That's why it's Lampante.
Oh, got it.
Yes.
Got it. But okay, I'm so sorry. So go back. So in order to get the pure olive oil, the olives have to be crushed after they get picked for 2 to 3 hours?
Yeah, well, to get the premium olive oil, they have to be crushed, and that's extra virgin olive oil. They have to be crushed within 2 to 3 hours, or they're going to start getting more acidic and more rancid. So the peroxide value is going to increase, the rancidity is going to increase. So your free fatty acid will actually increase, and that's what's going to dictate whether it's extra virgin olive oil, or Lampante olive oil.
I hope my listeners out there are taking notes. You're recording this, and definitely you want to go check out her website, which is Bluff
Cove olive oil.
I just call it Bluff. Bluff Cove olive oil. Check out her website. She has 2 locations. And then start looking at the labels when you go out into the stores. You want to start looking.
Yeah, start looking at like some of the keywords that they're putting on the labels. It's one thing too, if oil is processed, and you guys can do some studies about the fat content, but fat content's important. If for the US, if it's 0.5 or less grams of trans fats, they actually don't have to put those on a label. And a lot of refined olive oil will have trans fat in it. So you've got to really be careful of those, like vegetable oils or canola oils, all these oils that are refined, your pure olive oil, your extra light virgin olive oil. So if you see the keywords pure, light, just remember that means processed.
Who knew? So pure and light in the olive oil world means process.
Yes.
We should definitely make a note on that.
Yeah, about 3 to 7% of that oil will actually be olive oil.
Just 3?
Only 3 to 7%, yes.
But the label says olive oil.
It does. So 80% of the time you go get olive oil from a grocery store, it's going to be adulterated, which means it's mixed with other oils, maybe a canola oil, peanut oil, soybean oil, or it'll be rancid, or it'll be processed. So just keep that in mind when you go to your grocery store to get extra virgin olive oil.
Oh, Lordy. I'm still taking notes, folks. Taking some more notes. But how do our listeners know, what to look for?
One thing that makes it much easier is it's going to be the taste of it. I mean, once we teach you how to actually taste olive oil, you're going to know the taste right away. And just by coming in and tasting it, we can teach you how to taste the flavors and how to enhance them, and you'll know good olive oil from bad olive oil pretty much. The heavy greasy taste is not going to be your extra virgin olive oil.
I'm just shocked. So some of the olive oils, and we're not going to name store names because this is about empowering you. We want you to have the information to go out and make educated decisions. Some of those oils out there, although they say olive oil, they may only have 3 to 5% olive oil, and the rest could be other types of oils.
the regulations have to do with the labeling standards of the U.S., which is they just have to list the country of origin, and that's it.
Okay,
when it comes to oil.
It's anybody, and I know I actually taken several lessons, several classes, but I always learn something new, right? Because it's unbelievable. So definitely, I highly recommend checking it out and just really start reading what's on the labels because it's almost like a mystery.
It is, and there's a couple good books out there that actually are bringing awareness to the olive oil world, and one of them I recommend is Tom Mueller's Extra Virginity. It's a great book. It really goes into detail about a lot of the myths and misconceptions about extra virgin olive oil. And if you're looking for it, you can get it on Amazon. We do sell it in our shop, so I highly recommend that book.
Oh my God. And I swear to you folks, we do not practice this. But one of the things I normally ask our guests is there a one or two books that have made a difference in your life? And that could be either personal or business. And of course, you already gave us one and you recommended it to our listeners. Is there another book that, sort of jumps at you that has made a difference for you in your either life or business?
Yes. One of the books too that I read, I love recipe books. I guess I could just say is How to Cook with Olive Oil. You have one that's fun, one that's more about just knowledge, and there's a good olive oil book that just teaches you the techniques of how to cook with extra virgin pure premium olive oil. And the author of that, I'm gonna have to look up the author of that.
We can definitely
Mary Plattis.
Mary,
yes,
there you go. It came back to yes. Actually, it's so funny. I've never shared with my audience, but I was hooked on cookbooks, and this is when I was happily married, and I used to put them on the nightstand. And my husband one time said, it's like, are you ever gonna make something? I loved reading them, because you got to see the history and you got to see the ingredients. And I learned a lot just by reading cookbooks.
Yeah.
And yes, I am a phenomenal baker and an outstanding cook. But I'm just putting out there. But I did that by reading, you know what I mean? Because you just read and they're reading. So
and you learn flavors that complement one another.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm so delighted that you're here sharing with our audience, the benefits of olive oil and the things to look out for, because unfortunately, the olive oils out there, they're not really telling you the whole story.
No, they don't. And it's too bad, especially with all of us just being inundated with health information and trying to get healthy in this society. I mean, I do think it's good that we have such a push on Americans right now to get healthy and to try and stay away from these processed foods. And we're just learning more and more information about it. But it's hard when you don't know what you're buying. And when you're not educated about it, how do you know? So it's good that these little boutique stores are popping up to educate the people around.
But not only that, but you gave us two valuable resources of two different books. Plus also, if you're a beginner, definitely recommend just checking out her website, bluffcove.com, because she has recipes and she has different combinations. I thank you so very much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
It's been a fun. I'm your host, Chella Diaz. And remember, I believe it does not matter how much money you make. It's how much money you keep that counts.